Andrew, are we good?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. Welcome everyone. Today's a January 9th, 2024 regular work session. I want to welcome everybody that's in attendance here. Before we begin, I would like to, I'm going to ask Sheriff Quire to come up. Unfortunately, we had a deputy pass. Matt Green was with the, he's been through 4 administrations, 26 years as a deputy in the Sheriff's Department, and he was currently working over at the jail. So we appreciate Matt, and I think every one of us knows him, and there's a picture of him there. He's a great guy. So Sheriff, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, he actually retired as a sergeant, the longest serving deputy under 4 sheriffs, like you said, and he come back at the courthouse where he was working. I'm sure the jail would have liked to have him, but yeah, that was his picture when he retired. It was actually a really good picture, so.
Yeah.
It'll be a tough day tomorrow for a lot of people. Just keep everybody in your thoughts and prayers, you know.
Yeah.
It's rough, but
Yeah.
we'll get through it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
I'd like
sir.
to go ahead and, before we do anything else, take a moment of silence for Matt Green and his family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of beautiful that church bells are ringing right there. So he was I know he and his family are big, Good Shepherd participants, so that's very nice. So we're going to go ahead and get started here.
Judge, if I could, it's fitting maybe then to mention that it's National Law Enforcement
Yeah.
Appreciation Day. So just
Absolutely.
wanted to thank all of we've got some tremendous staff that have went above and beyond recently, especially in the Sheriff's Office, to help us in filling in need, areas of need like the jail and otherwise. So
Yep.
that's fitting.
Yep, very nice, Squire Wisman, thank you. Alrighty, I'm going to ask right now, being a work session, is there any public comments? Is anybody here to speak? Okay, please come forward.
Phyllis Vincent, and I just wanted to continue to put Ducker's Golf Course and Clubhouse in front of you. There are about 1,200 homes out 421, and we are really interested in that. We continue to meet as a group. We continue to court golf courses. We continue to do homework. We continue to try to raise money to see if we can purchase the course. We did offer to lease the course, but you guys saw it necessary to sell it. So we're still trying, and I want you to know that. We had a couple of golf courses that came recently to look at it. They were very complimentary of the fairways that the residents have been maintaining. Very complimentary of the structure of the greens. I didn't think it was going to take a whole lot of effort to get those up and going. But they reviewed the sprinkling system, and I don't know if you're aware or not, but somebody has taken the copper out of all the sprinkler heads. And I don't know if there's insurance that the county has that could replace that. I don't know if it was theft or on purpose, or I don't know why that, but that was an issue that at least a couple of course managers, as they've reviewed our property, have said, this looks like theft, or this looks like, so I'm asking you, would the county's insurance in any way get those repaired for us? Also, equipment. They were asking me about equipment, and there's nothing anywhere. Did the bank sell it? Did we sell it as a county?
I believe the bank had an auction.
The bank did that? So back to the water system, if you would look into that, is there insurance or something that would cover the repair of the water system? That would certainly help us in trying to help you as far as selling it or getting it maintained. But don't forget us. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Squire Tracy?
Mr. Vincent, thank you for being with us. You mentioned the county bought a golf course. And I think I put this in an email. The county purchased property that used to be a part of a golf course. There are different owners. In order to have a complete golf course, all owners would have to come together. So you've got one owner that owns tee boxes and greens, and then there's a slither in the back that's owned by a separate group. So I think in emails that I've saw that, and I've tried to be very clear on it, to say that the county has purchased Duckers as a golf course, to me, is kind of misleading, because we don't own a golf course. We own a piece of property that used to be a part of a golf course.
I understand,
So I just wanted to,
I understand.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I apologize, I missed the pledge today, so with everything with Deputy Green, so I'm going to ask everybody to stand up. Let's do pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comments before we continue? Alrighty, seeing none, I'm going to ask Duke, the Road Department Superintendent, to come up and give us a Road Department update. Good evening, Duke. How are you?
I'm great. How you guys doing?
We're doing well, thank you.
Ladies. Well, as you can see here with this picture we've got, we have started on the salt barn dig out. Matter of fact, we've got probably 2/3 of it, of the material removed now. Anticipating, if the weather cooperate with us, about a day and a half, we should have that completed. And then Rising Sun will start their process of putting the material back in.
How's the vehicle storage going?
Vehicle storage is going well. There again, the weather's messing with them. They planned on pouring concrete this week. Not sure that's going to happen now. Next week doesn't look real promising, so kind of put us in a bind.
So on the vehicle
It's that time of
storage, I
year.
believe they have all the walls up. They just have to pour that one center wall, and then they're down to slab work, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
they've got just a short wall there to pour that separates the step down in the building. Is what it
And so
amounts
once that's complete, there's another crew that comes on site and starts putting iron up?
to. Yes, sir.
Okay,
And they're ready to go just as soon as the slab's poured, so.
okay. What's all the guys been working on?
Well, of course, salt barn, and we've got a crew, that's been up at the sheriff's department working on a project for him that he's been trying to get done for, I think, a couple of years now.
At least.
I mean, it turned into a pretty good job. We had
Yeah.
to hoe around a couple feet of rock, but we're in good shape now,
Yeah.
so, kind of waiting on the,
There's some
Long
pictures,
run
there's some
plumbing.
pictures right there.
Show me that lines, it looks like you dug a couple of ditches for
sewer and
line,
water.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
I believe the sheriff, and he can speak on it, he's going to build onto that building there that,
Yeah, he's
Oh.
putting an addition on
Yeah.
his garage, so. And then, of course, we've had a tree crew out the last couple of weeks in various areas of the county, cutting dead trees and overhanging limbs. And our mow trim, it's running again, so we've got it out, Hickory Ridge area.
have you heard anything on the timeline on the new mow trim?
Last I heard would be, late spring, most likely, for it.
Dude, can we check in on that and see get a formal update from the company maybe?
Yes, sir, we got an update, I think, about 3 weeks ago, and that's what they told us, so, but we can get another one.
Did you all get the truck back from Manning that was having the snow equipment put on it and everything installed?
We have not, I expect to call anytime. He told me, last time I talked to him, first week of January, so.
Okay.
It was headed to paint, and that's the last step, so we
Oh,
should
good.
be getting a call anytime on that.
Good. All right, any questions?
Yeah.
Squire Tracy, sorry, Cooper Sebastian.
Thank you. Do you foresee, any issues, knowing that we have some weather coming in?
Yeah.
Anything that could hinder the process of getting out.
We're ready to go. They actually run their snow routes again today.
Good.
Just to make sure everything was running well and no issues. So, of
Thank
course,
you.
anything can come up, but
Oh, yeah.
we're looking pretty good right now.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Road Supervisor, thank you so much for being here, and I just wanted to publicly acknowledge, a lot of the work that has been done, at least in my area, as this is, you're going around cutting the dead trees and really doing proactive maintenance on the roadsides. Taking down dead trees and overhanging limbs, because we know with the weather coming, it's just going to bow those trees over more and make it impassable, either from limbs hanging down or trees being put in the roadway. So I just want to say thank you so much, and appreciate a utility located in Franklin County had cut across some roads out in my district, and I appreciate you all coming out and cold patching on some really cold days, and looks like the cold patching is holding, so residents appreciate that too very much, and as do I, so thank you very much.
That's another thing too. That's about the best we can do this time of year because the
Absolutely.
blacktop plant's closed. So,
Yep.
it'll get us through the winter.
It looks good, thank you,
You're welcome.
truly. Neighbors appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Squire Wisman.
Yeah, Duke, can you walk me through a little bit that we just received this information about the change order? I hadn't seen it until 10 minutes ago for the Salt Bay, but I understand the Salt Bay is being relocated to, is it existing location has been dug out? Where are we done with our salts, and how long of a time frame are we looking at till that's operational for winter operation here?
Our salt is still in the bin that it was in before.
Okay.
It's protected from the weather. And a timeline on the salt barn, I would say 3 to 4 months.
Oh, that long?
Yeah.
Okay. Spring.
Because they're still waiting on some final plans from the canvas company. Is that right, Brian?
And Squire, we're going to go over all that when we get to that agenda
I get it,
item.
but while we.
Yeah.
Product specification, the product approval,
Yeah.
the talk that covers.
Yeah.
So the main question was just you don't see any impact on salt and accessing that for the winter, for next week, what may come?
No, we're in good shape.
Yeah, but we'll go into depth when we get down to that agenda item on that one there. Thank you. Any other thing for Duke? Oh, ma'am?
I'm Susan Hendricks, and I'm probably out of order. Is there a point at which I may say things about the golf course that's not the golf course?
We can go back to public comments, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You good, Duke? Why don't you go ahead and come up, ma'am? Yep, we're good, thank you.
And by the way, the road department does a great job. We really appreciate it.
So public comments are 3 minutes, and please state your name so everybody knows who you are, please.
Yes, absolutely. I'm Susan Hendricks. My husband and I live on Walnut Road, adjacent to the golf course that's not a golf course. We are devastated, disappointed, very upset about what happened to Carl Smither, the gentleman who worked out at the golf course for years. You may not know that maybe you do, he was a double Purple Heart winner in Vietnam, 200 jumps from an aircraft as a sniper, came back to the States, lived in Florida, came back up here, and went to work for Bill Pulliam. So when Bill Pulliam got sick, Carl made him a promise that he would take care of the golf course to the best of his ability, even though he wasn't healthy. Carl went to work at a golf course where they have the PGA tournament over in Nicholasville, I can't think of the name of it, in the summer, and an employee there accidentally put a tractor he was trying to move into the wrong gear, and a trailer behind the tractor rammed Carl's leg and broke his bones in his leg. I know all the politics, I know how the golf course has changed, the county commissioners have changed and everything. I'm sorry, I can hardly. So Carl was really struggling financially. And instead of having the class and the consideration to go out to and ask him, give him a date by which he needed to move all that heavy equipment that was out there, somebody here had a wonderful idea that they would have the sheriff serve him with a notice to get out by what, the 14th? I'm not sure. So he was struggling to get out, and he had friends helping him. He tripped over a piece of equipment. He fell to the ground. Heavy equipment fell on his knee a week ago, Monday or Sunday, and he was taken to the hospital, and they glued him up, and he came back home, and he was really suffering. So he passed away this afternoon, and it seems to me like if somebody here had really been thinking and you really wanted him out of there, and you had compassion and caring, you could have sent the wonderful road crew out there with a backhoe or whatever it took to help him get his things out of there. I just think it's unconscionable. And I feel so horrible for his family. They're struggling financially. I know, my time is up. It's pretty sickening to me. It really is. And sometimes I think you guys think you know everything that's going on, and maybe you try to do your best, but maybe you really don't. That's all.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to move on to the judge's report. First of all, I want to tell everybody thank you for a great 2023. First year as judge executive has been very interesting. I know we have some new court members, but I think we should all be very proud of the year we had in 2023, and also want to thank the staff here as well. We've had a lot of things to be proud of. I think now is a pivotal time in Frankfort and Franklin County, and then I can say that we are on track to make some big things happen for our community, and I just want to say thank you, especially to the court, for being fiscally responsible. We had some committee meetings since our last court. Finance Committee met twice, once on January 4th and again on the 8th. Things covered, I believe Andrew's putting up the notes. The big things on the January 4th meeting were we met with 3C Healthcare Company. That's our healthcare provider from the jail. We've had a lot of those questions, why the pools are running over and things like that. So they came and explained a lot of things, and it helped a lot. We also talked about raises for Jail Road and for our county staff. On the 8th, we met with Melanie Van Houten with the Sculpture Park. She's interested in teaming up with us. So we started a conversation there, and we also talked about the PDI grant that was I guess, put in for with KCDC and that we did get, so we're trying to kind of figure all those things out now. We also had a road committee. We are meeting down at the road committee so we can kind of see what's going on. We kind of got a progress report of where they are and things like that. The change orders we talked about for a long time, and then pay apps, that will be on our next court agenda, the first pay apps. But we're going to kind of do those in person with our treasurer to kind of figure all those things out together as a committee. Yesterday, I had the privilege of going to Franklin County School Board last night, and I swore Ms. Jennifer Cantor in for her time that she's going to serve on the school board. I also read a proclamation because January 2024 is Appreciation of School Board month, so that was very nice. This morning we had an opioid task force meeting. Squire Dykes was present. I felt like it was a very good meeting. It was productive. I think we're starting to get to the point that everybody's identifying how some of the money could be used potentially. So I'm hopeful in the next meeting or two that we have something to bring back to the fiscal court. Let's see. Like Squire Wisman said, today is National Law Enforcement Day, so we'd like to take a moment to thank the Sheriff's Department. They're covering the jail also and our courthouse. We can't say enough nice things about what you all do to keep our community safe. And it's just, it's nice to know that you all are always there, so I just want to say thank you very much. On another note, today's Sheriff Squire's birthday. So I don't know if anybody knows that, so I'd like to wish him a formal birthday. So he probably doesn't want me saying that, but we really appreciate you guys. Next Monday, the 15th, is a holiday. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so the county offices will be closed. So I just wanted to kind of remind everybody of that. And that is my judge's report for January 9th. Alrighty. Moving on, let's go to minutes from our December 14th, 2023. Any comments, concerns, questions on that? Alrighty, next one is approval of the minutes from our December 21, 2023 meeting.
Yeah, Judge, I had a correction.
Okay, where's Squire?
I'm trying to find it quickly again here, sorry.
Fine.
Sorry, one second. I had it marked, I thought. There was one item that I voted present on. It has been recorded as a yay. Estoppel agreement.
Where are you at?
Fourth paragraph down, second page. And that's all.
Okay, clerk, did you get that?
Yes.
Alrighty, changes will be made.
Judge, you voted president.
Alrighty,
The next
next
one.
is the county clerk's quarterly report, December 31. Anybody have any questions on that? Bless you. Alrighty, seeing none tonight, we're gonna have the second reading on the TIF agreement. So, I'm gonna ask if Laura, anybody wants to come up for any reason. I know we've talked about this in great details last meeting. Does anybody have any, we did, just for the record, at 4 o'clock, we had a public meeting to talk about this agenda item, and there was nobody present.
Public hearing.
Public hearing, sorry. Yep. So any other questions on this before we vote tonight on this agenda item? Alrighty. Seeing none, we're going to move on. I'm going to ask Robert to come on up. And good evening, Robert. How are you?
Good evening, Judge. Good evening, Court. I'm well. How is everyone? As you recall at your last meeting, I think it was December 21st, I presented the first reading of the ordinance for the magisterial district map. At that time, there was inconsistency between the ordinance and the map. That has since been corrected, and so now we are back to a first reading of this that adjusted the population between the 3rd and the 4th district. The main impact was the Maples subdivision, and then a single home at the intersection of Steventown Lane. So with that, the map has been corrected, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but this is first reading.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes, sir.
So, are these changes to what was already changed? Or is this from the, it's not from the original?
What was submitted in December was the wrong file from the map illustrator.
Right.
So this map reflects what the reinforcement committee and the county clerk agreed was appropriate. So, and I have 11 by 17 color copies. If anyone would like those, and of course I can make them wall size if you prefer.
I'll take one, Robert.
Oh, righty. And so this map does not have the actual numbers on them. That's why the ordinance has that, and this is referenced as an attachment. Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. You are welcome.
So Robert, just walk me through this, because last time when we met, I think some of the numbers were off, is that what it is?
The numbers in the map did not
They did
match.
not
Yeah,
meet.
It was an old map
Okay.
file, so,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Is there a reason? I mean, I know there is, but do you know the reason of Capitol View Park being removed from the 6 and put into mine? Because
The county clerk thought it was more appropriate just because it didn't impact any population,
Right.
and it was right next to yours, and the 6th was reaching down into Capitol View Park. So he thought it's no harm, no foul, just put it with the 2nd.
Any other questions for Robert on this agenda item?
I'm very concerned that 5th District went up by one person.
I did question that.
Could not be somebody like me. I'm really worried about it.
I did question that, and I had him,
Yeah.
and there was a birth in the district, but.
It could have been, that probably was.
So these numbers are correct, and they're within the tolerance per the statute.
Does that not reflect the change you directed? The one house?
No, it was more, that was earlier.
All righty, Robert, thank you.
Somebody moved.
Well, it should, it's based on census.
All righty, Tammy, I believe you're up next. How you doing this evening?
Very well, thank you.
Couldn't help myself, I should have.
This is an authorization to apply for the ambulance block grant program. As a county agency, we are eligible to apply for the $10,000, and through the MOA we have with the city for E911, the funds are passed on to them for approved expenditures.
Questions for Tammy on this, and there is no financial impact.
not matching funds.
No.
And you said this is,
Go ahead, Squire.
thank you, Judge,
Thank you.
sorry. Madam Grants Director, so you said this will directly pass through to the city? We will receive, can you kind of walk that through for us a little bit
Yes.
about that process?
They invoice typically. From what I understand in speaking with Joe Sebastian, in the past, they've not submitted any documentation to us for what they're spending those funds on. But in speaking with him, he informed me that they have on order a powered stair chair for the funds that were awarded this year. So I'm going to follow up with him and get the actual documentation, so we won't have that on file here. But he has to supply in the KIMSIS system, he has to report on what they spend funds on. We're just not obtaining documentation here for our records. So just to keep everything, so we can supply that information if you all ask or anyone else asks. We'll have it on file here in the future.
Did that answer you, Squire?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
And
Bart.
he also informed me that they're looking to use the funds if we're awarding when we're awarded them this year, for a CPR machine or a portable ventilator. That's their two options that they're looking at right now.
Squire Tanner.
Is $10,000 a maximum amount we can apply for? Do you know how much money is in that fund that they're going to disperse this year?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I can find out and let you know.
Well, I'm trying to recollect, is that money is generated from cell phone taxes, I think, but I might be wrong, and they dispersed, I think.
I'm not sure. It's been a while since I read the KRS, but I can get that answer for you and
It
get
might
back
be a
with you.
KAR anyway.
Tammy, thank you. All righty, next agenda item is the one we started talking about earlier. I'm going to ask Bob Pelosi to come up. Wes Davis is going to be with us tonight with Codell, but he is very, very sick today, so we do not want him here. So we have had some meetings over this. Bob is probably the most up on everything. Just kind of in a nutshell, I'm going to give a 5,000 view. basically the salt barn, when they went to look at where the placement was, they found that the soil was unsuitable. So after having it tested, it was determined that we basically had to remove about 5 feet of fill and build it back up. So Duke spoke earlier. We all agreed that the county could remove the fill because we have the capability of doing that and save some money. But in order to keep all of our warranties and things like that, all of the salt building, we're gonna have to let Rise and Sun build it up. And I'm gonna say this before I forget, after looking at these numbers, that we still have, what's not shown here is about $40,000 of rock we're gonna have to purchase directly. Duke called down there, got exceptional special pricing, so we're gonna save that $10,000 on, supplying the rock ourselves basically, because we're buying it direct. So, Bob, I hope I didn't mess you up. I just kind of wanted to give my quick version of where we've been and how we got here, and you can take it from there.
Yes, sir. As Judge mentioned, we encountered unsuitable subgrade conditions for moving the salt, for where the salt barn was going to be constructed. So the reason that we shifted it was to get into an area that unsuitable material was shallower, to limit how much of this, it's cinders from the distillery is what it appears to be. It's just black, kind of sandy, doesn't compact, not good for building over. So the geotechnical engineer got involved and made a recommendation that we undercut to 4 feet below the footer and come back up with 4 feet of stone. So we asked, and then we revised the plans to accommodate that shift. Simultaneously, Superintendent Wilburn requested that the temporary construction entrance that they're using on the site be incorporated into the job and be paved and added as a permanent secondary entrance to the site. So that's also reflected in this change order, as adding that second entrance. So we prepared revised plans and a letter request that outlined all of the impacts to the original bid plans, line item by line item, to hand to the various subcontractors that are working under Codell, and got their pricing back. So I think you all do have this change order document in front of you that's listed PR number 1. So you see we reduced the asphalt paving by just over 21,000. There's a slight revision to what you're seeing on the Rise and Sun number. They're just eliminating the sales tax, so that's going to drop by about $770. So the Rise and Sun number is $52,154. And then there was some incidental changes to utilities that impacted the sewer line. So there's a slight, I think it's 25 feet longer of sewer. And that wasn't related to the salt barn. That's from adding the entrance. We ended up swapping the sewer pump and the fuel tank, so it just lengthened the sewer a little bit. And this does include the additional pavement for the second entrance. And there was one other field discovery that's also reflected in this change order, Judge, and that's when we excavated for the vehicle storage building that you saw pictures of earlier. There was a culvert pipe coming under the existing driveway that was buried. The upstream end was also undiscoverable, but we observed water coming out of that pipe. It wasn't located prior to the job because it was below ground. So we've also added a secondary drainage structure, catch basin inlet, and additional pipe and head wall to redirect that drainage around the building. So that's all included in this total change order of $35,282.94 is the change order for Codell. That includes their fee. There are no additional architectural or engineering fees associated with this change, so OHM's original contract remains. Any questions?
I'm going to ask before we get questions if anybody from the road committee wants to say anything or anything I might have missed or anything.
The road committee discussed it yesterday and was pretty much told exactly what you just said, so.
Good deal.
Squire Blackburn.
So when the original geotechnical study was done on the soils, was it not indicated that you had?
There were some unsuitable soils found on the site. The site plan went through multiple iterations of as the design changed, and originally the salt barns were placed over behind where the existing salt is, and that was deemed unsuitable, and the previous road superintendent had made us aware that he'd been with the county for several decades and told us that that was a fill site. So we moved off that site to where it was proposed in the bid drawings, and there was no indication or no suggestion that there was any unsuitable material there. Plus, that area prior to the site being cleared was completely covered with debris, and there was a lot of old road equipment, stockpile
So they didn't do any
materials.
geotechnical testing
There was no original soil borings, but had there been, the result likely would have been the same, that they would have had to be in an undercut, or we would have had to find an alternate. And the site's pretty constrained in terms of suitable building locations as it is, but in all likelihood, the salt barn would have stayed where it's going, and the result would have been much the same. Well, and I will add that the change order does include adding 15 extra days to the schedule, so pretty minor schedule impact on that end.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. My question was the same
Oh.
as my fellow squire. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Squire Wisman.
Bob, I think you said the critical thing there, this entire site was really less than ideal for this development, and we should have, as a body, reviewed that before doing this, but the decision seemed to have been made. Did you say there was an additional change in the numbers that we see here then, a
There was a
$770 deduction?
700 and, let me pull it out exactly, $772.18 less than what is printed on the total.
And we have an extension of 15 days. I don't see that reflected in the paperwork we were given. Do we
It's
need to
on
approve that?
Codell's cover letter
It's on the
in
It
the
says in the cover letter.
second
Oh, sorry.
paragraph.
It's already started and going. I want to say in the future, for anything for this body to consider, I would really like to have it more than the moment we sit down at the table, at least 24 hours in advance, so we can thoroughly review, ask questions, make phone calls ahead of time, that kind of thing. I get why this was delayed, but the road committee did have it yesterday, and we didn't have it until, we sat down, so.
Unfortunately, it was held up on Codell's stand, so we're
Understand.
trying to keep moving the best we can. But I agree, 110%. What other questions do we have? Any more? All right, Bob, thank you very much for being here and answering those questions. All righty, now we get into the good stuff, even the better stuff here. So I'm going to ask Duke to come back up, and we're going to talk about the road department and what Franklin County is going to hopefully be able to do for them.
Well, I'd just like to start off by saying that I think the citizens of Franklin County is very fortunate to have an experienced and talented road department as they have. We get a lot of comments, a lot of compliments, should I say, on our work for the most part. And I think this proposed pay adjustment is, well deserved. I believe it'll help us keep our experience we've got. And as y'all know, experience is very valuable, so. In this current proposal, I believe it addresses most of the concerns that the court heard from some of the road department back in September when I was hired. I think it addresses most of those concerns. I also believe it'll help us attract more qualified candidates. I mean, it's been increasingly difficult to try to get any qualified applicants at our starting pay, just in the short time I've been road supervisor. I will tell you that this plan has been reviewed by the road committee and the finance committee as well. And from what I've been told, we're working within our current budget. We're actually going to, in this proposal, we're going to lose a position to make this happen, stay within our budget. So, I mean, we've got just one guy down there that's been there right at 3 years, and he's not even making $20 an hour. You know, so it's really hard to make a living at $20 an hour these days, you know, so.
So Duke, before anybody, I'm going to ask some people to speak who helped review this, and I know this has been going on probably prior to you. You know, there's a lot of things as far as longevity and things like that that needed to be addressed, and I think everybody knows post-pandemic things have changed, but I just want to thank you for your leadership. You know, you've come in here, you've really fought for your guys to get them fair wages. We're going to be doing some other things on this agenda, but I just want to say thank you, because I know it's been tough coming in, you know, and a lot of guys been down there for a long time and being a new kid on the block, but you have come to all these committee meetings and voiced your opinions, and I respect that as a leader. So I'm going to ask, like Duke said, it went through a couple of committees, so I'm going to ask anybody if they would like to speak. Squire Tracy.
Thank you, Judge. I would just like to reference, you said review, that it was reviewed by the Finance Committee, is my understanding. But I can assure you the Road Committee was very committed into making sure that the concerns and issues that was raised in the September meeting was not only discussed, but was addressed and taken care of. So, you know, after the September court meeting, the Road Committee, along with the road supervisor, deputy judge, again, have been committed to addressing the issues and or concerns that was brought to us by the road department staff, such as lack of advancement or promotional opportunities being referenced, and on more than one occasion. The Road Committee has worked tirelessly to resolve those issues and others issues of the past. The Road Committee recommendation that's in front of you does that. I think it resolves a lot of things that hasn't been able to be addressed in the past. You know, we heard that there was no room for advancement, there was nowhere to go, and I think everybody heard it. And again, those things have been addressed and resolved with this plan. There is opportunity for heavy equipment operators, for light equipment operators, and also there's certification opportunities for mechanics. Again, I just want to say thank you to the committee, to members of the committee, for just digging in, because ultimately I think we met within a week's time after that September meeting and got on this. So thank everybody that dug into this. Thank you, Finance Committee, for reviewing it. But again, I just want to thank my teammates on the Road Committee for just being committed for getting it done and listening and hearing and just trying to resolve and do what's right. So that's what I will say on that part. Also, one thing that wasn't touched on, I think, and it needs to be touched on, is you referenced starting pay.
Right.
And that was something that was referenced in this as well, is you was really having a hard time finding qualified applicants per se because of the starting pay.
Yes.
And I think that it's to be known that there is a starting pay, but a starting pay for someone that's coming in off the street with zero experience is different than a starting pay that's coming in with 10 years of heavy equipment operator experience.
Right.
So there is a window there for you and the judge and whoever, you know, there's some flexibility there. So I just want to make sure that that's thrown out there, that, you know, you're not coming in, somebody that we're not asking a 10-year heavy equipment operator to come in and work for $19.50 an hour, or whatever it may be. So I just think it's important to touch on that as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Squire. And I want to make a comment too, and then Squire Tanner. So I want to commend Chief Brewer and Duke Wilburn for working together. So most of you all probably know that the part-time mechanic that Chief Brewer had, I believe, retired. That position was added a couple of years ago because we had two supervisors that could not work together at the end of the day. So instead of the mechanics that we have working on their material, they hired somebody else in that cost the county a lot more money. So I want to commend these two guys for working together, putting no differences aside, going to the mechanics. The mechanics are excited to get back to what they were doing, and I think it's just a step in the right direction. You know, we've all talked about fleet maintenance once our building is built, and I think that's the intention. That will save us even more money. So Duke, I just want to thank you and Chief for working together. It means a lot to us and the community.
Just to echo off that, literally, you're exactly right. Thank you too, because with open minds, it took literally 15 to 20 minutes outside in that glass office out there for you all to come together in a conversation and saying, hey, this is the right thing to do. Why don't we do it? So,
Yep.
yeah, thank you all.
Squire Tanner.
I'm certainly not going to repeat a lot that Squire Tracy and you already said, Judge, but there was a lot of thought that went into this, and it wasn't shoot from the hip. Squire Tracy and Jack, both, everybody worked on coming up with a plan that would work, that would benefit the employees, which benefit this county. That's the first and foremost thing, as we provide services here. We're not trying to make a product and sell it. We're trying to provide services that benefit the people that live here. And that was the goal of the whole time, to make it where it would work better. The other thing, only other thing I'm going to mention is about the fleet maintenance. Even though you're taking over the fire department, our goal is even more than that. Once the building gets constructed, when our new road department is finished, then we have an idea of expanding that to the entire fleet that the county owns. And that's why we want to make sure we got mechanics and we got people with experience. And as a matter of fact, I ran on experience matters, and I know it does matter. And that's the end of my speech. Thank you.
I'm going to go to Squire Wiseman first, then we'll come back to you, Squire
Just some
Tracy.
clarifications then, Judge. You didn't overtly say it, but I'm assuming that we have canceled the hiring the part-time mechanic for the fire
Correct.
department.
That has been removed.
Is that the position you're speaking of that has been removed, or are we talking about an additional position at the road department that's been canceled to make these raises possible?
The position that was left off after everyone talked about is just a light equipment operator that they said they can do without. The numbers were too heavy. As far as where the money's coming from, yes. And then I talked to Amy as far as, I guess we'll have to remove the budget item from the fire line, for their maintenance of that part-time mechanic. And then that will probably go back in general funds. And then to Squire Tanner's point, once we start doing the new budget, knowing that hopefully the building will be done next winter, that's something that we're going to need to look at as far as if they're going to take over all county vehicles, we're probably going to have to get somebody else down there to help. But in doing that, we're going to save money, because right now, every different department is taking vehicles to every different mechanics all around town. So we'll be able to hone in, take care of our stuff, get on a maintenance plan, and it's just going to be better all the ways around. Did that answer?
That answers. You know what? In my mind, then we're reducing our workforce slightly and asking the rest of these guys to pick up a little bit of additional workload. So we should compensate them a little bit more. So in my thought, we're not going far enough quite yet with these, and I hope we'll consider that in the new budget coming up and further. The 17 employees on this list, and I did the average, over 18 years of experience, average, leaving out the two outliers that are less than a year.
Yep.
That speaks to something about the experience and expertise that we need to keep in that position and in these positions, and I'm worried maybe we need to find some other ways. It's been said in this court a number of times that we just can't do more for these people. We can. We're nothing without our people. We absolutely cannot serve the needs of this community without the folks that we have doing these jobs. So I just want to say I'm dedicated in this new year defining additional ways to compensate our people. And if that comes before wishful projects, so be it. You know, we have to keep these people employed, well employed in our community first, so.
I don't think anybody on this
appreciate-
court is gonna say anything different, and I think that's why
I'm just
it's
stating
worked
that, and
really hard to get here.
stating that I appreciate that this has finally come forward to us to make this action and the next one as well.
Squire Tracy.
And then I'll apologize for that because ultimately that was touched on yesterday, and I'm sorry, Eric, I didn't touch on that. As more fleet goes down or becomes under that umbrella, the salaries will be looked at and adjusted. That was discussed yesterday. So I apologize for that, for not touching on that.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Again, thank you so much for being here and presenting on this important topic that was discussed in the last court a number of times, and I'm glad to see that it's actually made headway. You had mentioned that there was going to be one position that was going to be, I guess, removed from the road department personnel cohort. And that is during this budget cycle. Do we anticipate, when we start budget negotiations and discussions in May of this year, bringing that back for the next fiscal year? Because there's been discussion here, and I know I had put my stake in the ground on the Strategic Planning Committee, the last court, about having vehicle maintenance that we do our own. I'm glad to see that that has come back. Sounds as if we're going to be adding more vehicles to that. So are we feeling confident that the current staff level will be able to handle that? Because the thing is you never know what's going to break down.
Right.
And so I'm trying to figure out if the number that we're losing, we're going to have to put that back possibly.
We are definitely going to have another, once that garage is done, and we start the fleet management for the whole county, we will have to have.
I think so too. So I think everybody thinking that that's going away, it's not going away. So just understand that.
That's what we talked about. Once we
actually-
get to that point during budgeting, we're gonna have to look at that.
Okay. Just want everybody to be real clear on that. That we're making a number by taking one away. We're going to put that right back.
Squire Dykes, did you have your hand up? Couldn't tell. That was like a half-hearted hand. I wasn't sure what was going on
Well, it
there.
kind of was. But this goes for all of these guys that do so much work for us. I don't think it's enough either, but I think we're getting there, and I'm really happy to see that we're doing that, and we appreciate you all more than we can say. Everything's going up, everything's getting more expensive, and I want these guys to be able to take care of their families while you all take care of us. So I appreciate you all very much. Thank you.
And just so everybody knows, most everybody was getting bumped, and the ones that there were not necessary to get bumped, hopefully they'll get the 3% raise that we're hopefully going to approve tonight for all Franklin County employees. So just to be clear, some might not have changed, but they will still be getting the 3% raise. So, Duke, thank you. Thanks.
I'd just like to thank the court for considering this proposal.
Good deal.
Judge, question still.
Yep.
Could you walk me through I'm not seeing a rhyme or reason, or maybe I'm missing it here, the 3% heavy equipment operator, 50 cents increase, light equipment operator, 50% increase, mechanic certification dollar increase. Can you walk me through what the basis was of the changes? Was it partially considered by years of service and current salary rate? And I'm just wondering if the committee can kind of walk through. There was an emergency hire recently that's not reflected here that I would
That was
imagine
through our maintenance
would
person.
be. Okay, just if you could.
I am going to defer to Squire Tracy because he has his hand up and he probably knows his sheet a little better than me. So I'm proud to say, take it away.
So ultimately, where you see light equipment operator to heavy equipment operator 1, it's everyone's understanding that when a light equipment operator gets to the point that the road supervisor feels like that individual has the qualifications to become a heavy equipment operator, that's that incentive, that's that movement. So I think the road supervisor said it best in one of the committee meetings. He wants everyone to be heavy equipment operators. That way no job ever stops. So you see that, and then as of right now, we only have 4 heavy equipment operators. So the thought was, okay, let's give 50% of that an opportunity for advancement. So that's why you only see 2. So if there were 6 heavy equipment operators, you may see 3. But all of that's going to be at the discretion of the road supervisor, as he feels like people are picking up more knowledge of operating the equipment, and he feels like they're comfortable on it. Then ultimately, from what my understanding is, you will come to the judge, you will say, hey, this individual has passed the test that's been put in front of him. Here's an opportunity for advancement for that gentleman or lady to pass this test, to take the test, pass the test, and get the money from being promoted or advancing up the ladder. As far as the mechanics, again, you're taking on the whole fleet. We're going to start with the fire department. That's where it's going to start there first. And it's my understanding there's one certification out there right now that they will obtain that is imperative that they work on certain apparatus. So when they obtain that certification, they get $1 for that certification. That's their incentive to get it, and that's also advancement for them in regards to their salary.
How does that compare then to current incentives? We don't have that listed.
There are no current incentives.
Nothing.
Yeah, there are none.
We need to lay out everything here for anyone that's watching.
But I will say this. When he touched on the fact that the fleet maintenance was an issue at the last court, and again, for whatever reason, there could not be a deal could not be worked out, there was advancement opportunities through certifications for the part-time mechanic. I don't know if he took advantage of it. That you would have to tell me that. I don't know if he did or not. As far okay, yeah. So the part-time had opportunity for advancement. Our full-time mechanics at the road department didn't. So this right here takes care of that as well.
And Squire, one of the things, thank you for answering that. So one of the things we also talked about in the committee is actually laying a chart out so the employees can see kind of a ladder of what they need to do and accomplish in order to get to the next phase. So that would be part of the SOPs that hopefully all counties are going to start working on soon.
Good.
Yep. All righty. I was going to tell Duke, thank you, but he already sat down. Thank you. All righty. Next, I'm going to ask our jailer, Ron, to come up. Ron, how you doing this evening?
Doing well, sir. How about you?
Good. You're looking good. You're looking good, buddy.
I'm just following in the sheriff's path of success. They're trying to anyway.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you. First of all, a lot of people have worked on this project. Yourself, been to the jail multiple times. Jack, Amy's worked very hard on a difficult and a lot of moving part budgets. The jail task force has been to the jail on more than one occasion, been to the finance committee twice. So a lot of people have worked on this. I thank the sheriff for his support. But basically, we are in a severe staffing shortage. I would go so far as to perhaps call it an emergency. We have been having the sheriff's office, court security officers come and work the control center. We've been having Richard Sandifer has come and worked. We've kind of done everything we can do to maximize our staff. But we are at about 50% staffing level. So what I'm proposing is that we reduce our staff. We're authorized to have 48, that we reduce that to 43, that we take the funds that are there and we spread that through the pay scale. Now this would all be done within our budget. We're not asking fiscal court for any more money. We just want to spend what's in our budget a little bit differently. I will say that we can authorize our strength at 48, but for the life of me, I can barely break 30 on our best day. And right now we're either at 25 or 26. I'm not sure when I left the jail exactly, but it's one of those two. So that's what we're asking. I would be glad to, it's not just the Franklin County Jail, I think it's important to point that out. It's corrections all across the United States, but particularly here in central Kentucky, our current starting pay is not competitive. All the jails are competing for the same people, and we're just not competitive. So I don't think that a pay raise is going to be the magic wand that solves our staffing crisis, but it's a big step in the right direction. And I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, before we get going, Ron, I just want to thank you, and especially, excuse me, the sheriff for taking the jail on. I know when all this went down a couple months ago, it was a big decision for us to make, and I'm very appreciative of you stepping out of your current role as a detective and getting into jail. I've heard nothing but good things about your leadership from your peers, so that's very appreciated.
Thank you.
And I will say, I want to let the court know, Ron and I had a discussion yesterday, the day before, that he says never has he ever seen so many members of a fiscal court come to the jail and care. So I just want to say thank you to this fiscal court, because Ron worked there many years before. He's been around the jail, obviously, in his whole career. But to me, that was a pretty proud statement that members from this court have been there more than any previous fiscal court. So I just want to thank you guys a lot. So I guess we'll go ahead and start questions. Squire Tracy.
I do have some questions, Jeff. Thank you for being with us.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, what I have is just two different pay scales by hourly rates, and then rank and title. So that's kind of how my questions are going to flow out, okay?
Sure.
Knowing how the road committee came up with theirs, that's really why I got these questions.
Let me grab another piece of paper before I had all one place. So are you referring to this document?
This right here.
Okay.
Got it, Mike? Got it.
Well, how did we come up with the entry-level pay, the proposed of $20 an hour? I looked at other jails in central Kentucky that are about our size, trying to compare apples to apples. So, for example, Oldham County, Clark County, Woodford County was a little bit smaller. All of those folks are at $20 or higher. So state corrections is much higher. It's about $24 an hour, and there's shift differential and nights and weekends and things like that. So I felt like that if we went to the $20 to $21 an hour, depending upon experience, that would begin to get us competitive. So I based the new pay scale, or the proposed pay scale, on that, because if you have a sergeant that's been there and they're supervising, and currently some of those guys don't, or men and women, don't make $20 an hour. So we have to raise not only the starting pay, but up, it has to trickle up through the pay scale. So basically for each rank, I just added $1. I don't think that's enough, but I understand that the county has the resources that it has, and we are trying very hard to work within our budget. So that's kind of where I worked from, which was starting at 20, with asking for some leeway if someone has experience, like experience is important. If they have that, can we pay them another $1? And then trickling that up through the pay scale. And then once you get to the lieutenant and captain scale, it's pretty much on. I think when we looked at where we wanted to be and where we were pretty close. So I would propose that those folks get the 3% that everybody else in county government is hoping to get. And I think this will take us a long way towards being more competitive and to be able to retain the people that we have. Right now, we have a really good, dedicated group of staff. There's nobody there that I would like to see leave. We worked, not this pay period, but the one before, we worked 610 hours of overtime. So, and they've been doing that for a while. They're tired, but if you come out there, you'll see that the morale is really pretty high. They look at it as a shared hardship. And I hope that answered your question.
It does somewhat, I guess. So in looking at the scale, so right now if I'm understanding you right, you're currently using, it's the current hourly rate to hire from, is that correct? That's what you're using to hire from?
Yes, yes.
And that's where people are coming in at, right?
Yes.
Okay. And again, believe me, I've read the emails in regards to people coming in. So I guess one of my questions is, what's being done differently today compared to 4 to 6 months ago in regards to recruiting and retaining? What are we doing different today than we did?
When it comes to recruiting, we are on the platforms that people that work in this price range are on, but we just don't have any applications. So in the future, we have some plans. Yes, I like to get on Instagram. I'd like to communicate in different ways. I'd like for the county to put that on their website and things like that. Retention, there's not much that can be done. We're looking for a pay raise to retain these people. We've tried to improve the working conditions. We've improved their uniforms. We've tried to improve the hours, going from a 12-hour shift to an 8-hour shift, but quite honestly, most of these folks are working 16s, and then they're turning around and coming right back for another 16. So what you have here is dedicated people. I really can't say what we're doing to retain them. I wish I could.
Okay. And the reason I ask it, I know in the past, the previous jailer made reference that we weren't going to be able to pay our way out of this.
Well, I don't think that's totally wrong, but it's a start. Now, some things that maybe are intangible, but we've had a new maintenance director come on board. That's been huge, because if you think about it, when you go back into the housing area of the jail and there's a consistent problem that there's water running or there's whatever it is, the inmates are going to get aggravated about that, and then that aggravation is taken out on the staff. So by having a maintenance director that is very responsive to doing what they need to do and to getting when we have a legitimate issue, fixing it, things like that make a big difference. Getting them all in a uniform so they feel better. If you look good, you feel good. So.
No, and I don't disagree with you at all. I guess, another question that I asked in the past, and I was shot down pretty quick, and I know that it would cost more money for the county, but at the end of the day, everything that I've ever been told is people truly go to the jail as a stepping stone. But there's no incentive at the Franklin County Regional Jail because there's no hazardous duty.
Well, now, yes, I would agree with you on that. I think that there is a crisis in recruiting in law enforcement, and corrections is one part of that. But one of the things that's changed from when I started back a long time ago is you had to have military experience, you had to have a college degree, you had to have jail experience. Nobody walked off the street and got on the police department. Well, there's a recruiting crisis in the police department, the sheriff's office, and all law enforcement. So that's kind of been removed. You can go get hired by a police department now. You don't have to start out at the jail. I will say the best officers that I know did start in the jail because you learn so much. But that's something that we have to recognize that there is just not a desire to go into law enforcement, whether it be on the street or in corrections, either one. So would hazardous duty retirement help? I don't know. I don't know what that would look like. If it's tier 2, then maybe, but I can tell you that in the time that I've been around the jail, the only people that have retired have been jailers and senior staff, because no one else makes it that long. So when I look at that and I think about the resources it would take to go back to hazardous duty retirement, I think to myself, maybe we just ought to pay it more. Because you know what I mean? That's a lot. It's going to be a huge amount of money if you go hazardous duty retirement, and you could put $3 or $4 more in someone's pocket and still save money, probably. I'd have to do.
Well, originally, I think that was the plan. Unfortunately, it just never happened. It doesn't appear that it happened anyway, but I know there's some legislation right now going around that
the FOP is supporting that legislation, so I'm certainly behind that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And sorry to get off track, but I do got a couple questions. So on 1023, and again, I don't have names or anything and don't really need names, but on 1023, there was a promotion made to where I believe a deputy, which is identified as a lateral, went from 18, he was 18 to 21. So, or excuse me, it's a sergeant, or staff sergeant. He went from 18 to 21 in October. And then under this plan, it's proposed that that this slot gets $2 more.
Yes.
So ultimately, you're looking at a $10,000 raise within 4 months' time.
True. But if I could speak to that.
Absolutely.
So we just had when we do promotions, we have a written test that you have to take We have an oral interview, so it's not just anointed, you actually have to earn it. And when we put out the advertisement for the last sergeant's position, it literally said you must have at least 3 months' experience. 3 months to run the shift in the absence of the shift commander, which is going to be on a Saturday night at 7 o'clock at night or midnight or whatever. This person's got 3 months' experience. The rest of the staff may not have that. They may have a month or two. So I believe, and promotions happen and people leave and stuff. I'm not 100% sure the deputy that you're referring to, but I believe it's someone that had worked there before, came back, immediately got promoted because we had a vacancy and they were very capable. If it's the person I'm thinking of, he's a 10-year Air Force veteran, he's a senior non-commissioned officer, got all kinds of overseas experience, so he's a bargain to me.
No, I'm not arguing that point at all. I'm just asking questions because, again, I'm looking off a chart, trying to think back, okay, there were two that came to us. The third one, the quote-unquote promotion, didn't come to us. It was never talked about or discussed in this body, but the other two were. So I'm just trying to make sure. Again, yeah, I know the guy had worked there and for an extended period of time.
The guidance that I've been given is that that promotions are done in-house without necessarily bringing that to the court, but a performance-based raise or a retention-type raise, those type of raises would have to be brought to the court. So the two lieutenants that we brought, and y'all were kind enough to approve, that was, I don't remember what month it's kind of running together, but it's, I want to say that might have been around October.
October 2nd. Okay, so then to go down, let's say, for example, we have two captains. And on the proposed hourly rate, okay, current hourly rate, we're looking at it, it's saying between 22 and 24. And then it goes over and it says your proposed hourly rate is 25 to 26. The two captains are within the proposed hourly rate, and if the increase is given, it will push both of them outside of the hourly rate that's proposed.
Yes.
So how do you see that? How do you see that?
I see that as these are long-term employees that whoever the next jailer is going to have to run this operation. They're not getting an adjustment to their pay because I think their pay is in line. However, they would be getting the 3% that the remainder of county government would get. So no one above sergeant would be getting anything other than the 3% raise.
Yeah, I'm not questioning I'm questioning the proposed hourly rate. It's going to put them outside of the scale once they get this, which ultimately would make the captain proposed hourly rate line item null and void for us because they're already outside of that box per se.
I look at that as the brand new captain starting out, and then as, captain is about, there's only one rank above it at the jail, so you're kind of topped out. So the only raises you're going to be getting from there for the rest of your career, however long that is, are going to be cost of livings. So that will it take it outside the salary range? Yes, but only because longevity, years of service for the county.
Okay, all right. And then I guess my last question would be in regards to commissary director.
Yes.
That's another one that just really stuck out to me.
Yes.
It's about $11,000 raise.
It is. So we had two people in there. We had a commissary director and an assistant director. We have engaged in a contract with a company called Kelwell, which is a local Frankfurt company that does our commissary. So that relieved a little bit of the responsibility. So we combined those two positions and took all of the duties that were remaining besides the actual ordering the stuff that we sell, and we put all that into the director. So things that would cover: the inmate trust account. If you get arrested and you come to the jail, any cash that you have is going to be taken from you, put into an account, not interest bearing, it's just an account, holds the money. When you get out, we'll issue you a debit card. So at any given time, there's $130,000 in there. It's a daily thing. I think when we looked at that position throughout county government, equivalent positions that perform those duties, this is actually about $2 an hour less than what those are in other parts of county government, I'm pretty sure.
Now, and maybe the finance committee can chime in, you referenced that you have all this information and that you compared us to surrounding jails. Can we get that information? Because ultimately, we don't have it. It would just give us something to look
If
at.
that's something you'd like to see.
Yeah, and if you can share the positions that you feel that are in line with that commissary director, that would be great as well.
I don't remember what they were called exactly, but
We looked through those, the finance committee did. I mean, we looked over them because Sherry had that exact same question, I think, when we went over it. And comparing it to other directors in county government, it was right on target, I think.
I think it was like an admin assistant
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, but if
For-
you could
forever
share
I
that,
call
please.
it.
Thank you so much.
Squire Tanner.
I only got a couple of questions. One of them is the commissary director. You made mention of the fact that we have y'all have contracted with a manager that manages the commissary department. What do they do compared to what the director does?
perhaps I wasn't clear. We contracted with Kelwell, which provides the commissary. So what they do is they take the orders and they order the stuff and they fill the orders. So we no longer do that. If we did that, we'd have to have 2 full-time people in this position. Because during COVID, it was very hard to source things and it was a difficult job. But what we decided to do, and this predates me, although I agree with it, we went with the local company that does that for us. So the only thing that Kelwell does is they take the inmates' orders and they fill the inmates' orders. That's all they do.
So the order is taken, then the jail pays, the commissary fund pays for that? If this lady or person, gentleman, whoever it is?
Yes. The commissary director takes money in from well, let me rephrase that. She manages the inmate trust account, and then all of the other expenses that are made out of commissary, she pays those bills and makes sure that they're within the guidelines that we're allowed to spend. So there's accounting there every month. We spend money on things every month to benefit the inmates, such as inmate mental health and things like that. And then she also handles the dealing with Kelwell and the contracts.
So the contractor he handles no money, he just sends a bill to wherever he buys the...
They actually pay us. They pay us. Kelwell pays us a percentage of their profit. That's the arrangement that we have with them.
Okay, you did mention one other thing, that the trust account and the commissary account, is that commingled funds?
Absolutely not, no.
So then, you made it, I thought you said whenever they come in and had money, whatever that might be, $50 or $20 or $200, whatever they might have, that goes into the, does that go into the commissary
No.
fund? It goes into the trust fund?
Trust fund.
And this
Trust
person's
account.
over that fund also?
Yes,
And when they get ready to leave, they can use that money probably for commissary goods? No,
it
they
goes
can't.
in-
You
it
just
goes
gotta
in-
keep
it
that
goes into
separate.
that account, yes, because if, otherwise, we'd have $130,000 cash laying around the jail, which would be a bad idea. So that's why it's done that way. But any cash that comes into the jail on an inmate immediately gets put in the inmate trust account. It's the inmate's money, it's never our money, it's a non-trust bearing account. It's basically just it's a safe way to track their money, and then when they get ready to leave, we issue them a little debit card, and they can take that with them.
So if they wanna buy something from a commissary fund, whatever they may need, soap or whatever.
Yeah.
They can't use that money.
No, their family can put money on their account, on their commissary account.
In the commissary account, which is different money, but this person's over both of those.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that helps me some. If I wanted to know how much balance was in the commissary fund, how would I find that out?
Well, it makes about as much money a month as we spend, so I don't have that exact figure, but I would say it's approximately around $30,000, and I can get you that figure. But the days of big money commissary for us are done, because there's a county ordinance that prohibits e-cigarettes, and that was our moneymaker. That was $110,000 a year. There's an ordinance that says we can't do that. So since that's gone, basically we make enough money to pay for the few things out of that we pay. We pay for inmate dental care out of that. We pay for inmate mental health, a psych nurse, and things like that out of that account. But the days of a big commissary fund are pretty much done. And you also have to take into consideration that our average population the last year has been about 230, whereas last year it was 330, and I think before that, last time when I was there, 17, 18, it was well over 400. So you have less people buying things and you have less markup on that.
There's only well, I got a couple of other questions, but anyway, one, and definitely specifically to you is that, as that director, because it's a $6 an hour increase from $18.51 to $24.
Yes.
So I guess my question would be, and I don't know that you can answer it, is why would this person be in charge of that money? And could you not have given her more money, or him? It's a lady, I'm sure you referred to her as lady. It seems to me like the gap's pretty big. You want to give her $6 an hour now. How come he hadn't given her a couple of dollars before? Why is it $18 now?
I think that's a very fair question. Because she worked under the previous commissary director, she'd been there about a year as his assistant, and then he was one of our top paid employees, one of the few people that retired with hazardous duty retirement. And when he left, she's uniquely suited. She's in that position. She's already in that office. She understands because the commissary account has its own independent auditor, so she already has a working relationship with that auditor. I mean, basically, she knew it was a seamless move for us to make her the director, since she had worked in that office for the previous year and worked under the other director, that retired.
I only got one more, Judge, and this is probably not to Mr. White. It's to the, I understand this went through the Finance Committee. Did it go through any other committee?
Just the jail task force when we looked at it before, but that was it.
Pardon?
The task force when we brought it up.
Task force we discussed transitioning the number of employees to a lower level, but we never got into the weeds of amounts whatsoever, or what to give anyone.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything since, I think,
So
September.
like Ron said.
These are the original numbers. They've never changed.
Yep.
That was what we sent out, the original packet that we sent to the jail task force and to whoever else it was sent to. Numbers have never changed, the exact same.
I don't have any question. I don't think anybody here has any question that thinks that the employees at the jail need to be compensated for what they do in order, and maybe it will help retention also. Because we gotta provide a jail, or, I mean, we could argue about what management or whatever, if that's all a guess from somebody else. But, you have deputies everywhere. Here's one 17, 18, several of them 17, that's not enough. Then you got, I'm just going down the sheet here too. Going down to, I don't know, but see, it didn't say how long they've been here. You might have just hired them yesterday. I don't know about that.
Well, if they're not a lieutenant or higher, you can bet we just about hired them yesterday. I'll be honest with you. Most of them have less than a year with us. Our payroll clerk will be glad to testify to that, I'm sure.
I don't have any more questions, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Judge, just a couple of things.
Okay.
Okay. Ron, I appreciate you again stepping into this role and trying to right the ship and figure out all the problems that are fraught with issues, not the least of which was the condition of the building and delayed maintenance issues, and I'm sure that weighed heavily on the staff as well. You have 36 positions here effectively that are being proposed increases. 11 of those are a 3% COLA only. I'm wondering, I guess, generally, if the Finance Committee, more so that dug into this more than anyone, had any unique questions or that you had answered, or something that we haven't brought up here. I think we've got to do something. We're in effectively a triage situation in my mind at the jail current with our staffing levels, and I don't see us getting to a position where we are able to recruit and retain any more when we're still trying to just get everyone up to speed. And the amount of overtime that the folks are doing, please pass along our sincere gratitude to all the staff, because I know they're exhausted and putting in double, triple shifts just to meet the demand. And you're pulling in some folks like Mr. Sandifer, you said, and I appreciate his filling in too. But I guess more so it's directed maybe to the finance committee members. And specifically, I guess I'm wondering, before you answer that, was the salary schedule that the previous court did, the study, ever referenced to look at it, or was it more focused on comparables to other jails and surrounding competitors? I suppose maybe that's for
I can
either.
answer it if you want me to. Yeah, we didn't look at that study at all because post-pandemic it all changed. I mean, the study's really worthless. So what they basically worked on was surrounding counties and just actuals, you know, who are we competing with and what do we have to be competitive? I mean.
You can drive down Leestown Road past the federal prison. There's
Yeah.
a flashing sign
Hiring.
that says apply, you can get an interview that day.
$28.
You can get an interview that day, and that's who we're competing with them because that's a short ride.
Yep.
And their retirement is great. It's, federal hazardous duty retirement. So,
Squire.
And I'm just gonna make maybe something you've thought about, maybe something you haven't. But when you work those kind of hours under that kind of stress, and then you go home and can't pay for groceries, and that's an extra stressor, it's a big deal. A lot of these people are really young and have young families, and it may not look like it's not enough. I will say that. We all know that. They're not being paid enough, even when we give them this raise. But that extra stressor, I mean, this will take some of that extra stress off of them, and that will make a difference.
I guess, Kelly, that is sort of what I was trying to get at, is how much under are we still, paying? What's our gap for those competitors around us that are still trying to?
I think that the time that I've checked, and I can't state this as a fact, but I believe it to be true, is that Oldham County has now gone from 20 to 22. And Woodford is at 20, but it's half the size of our jail. So it's the level of stress there is about half of what it is at ours. So I think that the state, I can tell you that they went up to $24 an hour, and you get another $1 if you work after 6 o'clock for every hour worked after 6 p.m., and another $1 for every hour worked on Saturdays and Sundays. So you're looking at 26, and everybody, I say this, everybody is in crisis in hiring and corrections. It is just, it's a very difficult job, and it's a hard job, and it's, we're not competitive at pay right now, so.
I got Squire Sebastian first, then Squire Tracy.
Thank you, Judge. Squire Westman, I do want to address one part of the question that you asked. You asked about the salary survey that was done in the prior court. And I did look back at that, and at the time that the recommendation was, at least the survey was completed and the court accepted the survey. The amount that was in for the jail was 6.7% increases. That was given in that budget year. It was given. It was given, there was an amount in there for the coroner. I can pull it out. I brought it tonight, just in case this line of questioning came up. So that was given at the time. So I just want to be clear about that it wasn't tossed out. It was given right then. Thank you.
Thank you, Squire. Squire Tracy.
Just to piggyback off what something you just referenced, the facility that's down 421, I would feel like is probably our main competition. I don't really look at Oldham County as competition, because if somebody wants to get in a car and drive 45 minutes to work to make an additional $2, they've lost it on the drive up there and drive back.
True.
But the one down the road truly is competition. It's not Shelby County. They're on Indeed right now for 18 to 1850. It's not Scott. They're 16 plus. Winchester, 1751. Boyle County, 18 to 1890. Fayette County's 2493. So I think this is going to put us competitive. But one thing that people also have to understand is when you go into Fayette County, there's a Fayette County tax. Not counting the drive there, not counting the wear and tear, not counting for the time that you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
So I think we just have to take all that in consideration. And so my big question is this. Obviously, we're down 14 people. This goes through tonight. That's a significant step forward. What happens in 3 months if you're down 13 people and this hasn't done anything? Is there going to be a recommendation from you and or your group or the task force or the emergency services? What's going to be the next thing? Because again, I go back to what the last jailer said. We're not going to be able to pay our way out of this.
I don't totally disagree with that statement, but what I will say is you've got to try this. I think that it will dramatically help. Right now, we don't do any aptitude testing. There's a lot of things we don't do that we'd like to do before we hire somebody. And I think that if we could begin to hire a little bit better quality recruit and we'll retain the ones that we have, what we have now is a very good core to build from. And I think raising their pay will keep them, that's a start. And then when you begin to bring new people in, then we have a little bit less chaotic environment. We have a better structure. We have better leadership, better first-line supervision. All of these things will help retain people. One of the things that we've identified is that the better trained you are, the more confidence you have. To go into a pod with 30 inmates, just you and your radio, it takes a special person to do that. And we need to train those folks. Not everybody's going to be able to do it. We're going to get some people that come in and they do go through all the training and then they first meet the inmates and they're like, I can't do it.
Yeah,
So, it's just the way it is. But we have an excellent training director that he's young, he's very motivated. He's got a very easy way about him as an instructor, but he's really good with the new people. And I think when we focus on that, these are things that will help us begin to retain. But there's nobody for him to train right now.
Right.
So,
Do we advertise in the surrounding county newspapers, Scott County?
We have
Shelby
not.
County?
I'm not opposed to any type of recruitment. I just know that there's nowhere in my budget do I have the money to do that, because just a simple ad in the Woodford Sun's about $600. And I don't know what you get, I don't know how many people that touches for $600. So my strategy going forward is very much to do, we're competing with younger people in general. They're on Instagram. They're on social media. So we will, if we're fortunate enough to get this, we've got banners around town. We'll go get things printed up that say $20 an hour, 8-hour shifts. Hopefully we can keep that. We're hanging on, by a thread right now. So.
Yeah. Can we put them on the county line?
Yes, I'm for it. I don't mind if we get our pay up and we can recruit from other people's jail employees. You got to keep them as you got them. That's the way.
Just talking out loud.
Squire Sebastian, you have your hand up? No. Squire Wilson.
Ron, on that line of questioning, because I have something else. I always think that as the capital of our state, that we have unique opportunities to do things creatively that add benefit to our employment, that I'd like to explore. You're already sort of hitting on sort of the hierarchy that has been traditional of military or jail to police, and how that interplay sort of happens, that we could maybe find some unique things to do as the capital that give some employees or potential employees unique opportunities to train or specialize in fields that you can't get anywhere else, because we have state government and federal government and everything else here. So I want to try to begin exploring some of those things, and we can talk about that more. But I suppose for clarification, your budgetary impact, it says 82,000, and that is for the current, I just wanted to verify, that's for our current employment and not for any additional hires that may be in the works or could be hired coming in soon.
I would defer to our treasurer on that.
So the 82,000 is for if he was completely staffed for the next 6 months for the increase. That's the increase only.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
Completely staffed, is that 14 more?
That's at 43 positions.
43.
All righty.
You have an org chart there. You can see that I think sometimes there's a confusion between what we call admin and what we call secure side, so trying not to call admin. But if you look where it says shift, that's the one with the most cells on it. Below the captain's level there, Captain Pullen, you got about 16 vacancies and 16 filled positions. That is basically who's working the vast majority of all the overtime. And then the other support staff, which is the smaller org chart, you can see that the people in orange have been reassigned from their daily duties. They have to work the secure side because we just don't have enough people. And we cannot continue to do the transports that we do now. We cannot, we have our kitchen directors working 7 days a week. He's a great guy and does it with a smile, and I hope it continues, but that's a lot to ask somebody without any end in sight. So the people that are taken away from their regular duties, they're just not getting done. And if the transport would be critical because, I don't know that the sheriff's office, I'm sure, will do whatever they have to do, but it would be a big burden if we have to do that. And we've had 2 people in that unit for as long as I can remember. We're down to 1. And the sheriff is filling the gap with someone from the courthouse. But, I think we're at a critical spot.
I do, Captain. Looking at this chart, it's almost like it's like a military chart. I mean, we've got a staff sergeant, we've got a sergeant, we've got a corporal. I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
It's a paramilitary organization.
Yeah,
all law enforcement is. So.
Yeah. So there's staff sergeants at the sheriff's department as well?
I will say that I've been around for about 33 years, and this is the only place I've ever seen a staff sergeant in my whole life. I've never heard about him anywhere else. So the way that I equate that in my mind is in the sheriff's office, that would be a lieutenant. It's just a different title for the senior shift commander.
Well, unfortunately, we got lieutenants on here too.
Well, what happens when you cannot get a raise anyway other than promotion, you get top heavy. And I'm not blaming anybody for what happened before I got there, but just saying that most jails are top heavy because that's the way it works. So, I'm not at all opposed to rethinking the rank structure because I'm sure that whoever did the rank structure was a Marine because they have corporals and lance corporals and staff sergeants and.
Question answered.
So
I just asked.
Yes, sir.
I had a note of looking at the titling and the makeup as well. I wanted to, Judge, if I could just say one thing. There was a recent article in the newspaper about a decision of ours that's limiting access to the jail simply because we don't have the manpower at the moment to keep everyone safe, really, and visitors and inmates alike. And there was an editorial about that to that effect. So I just wanted to say I'm hoping the public will keep that in mind, that we're trying to put the safety of our employees and the inmates first and foremost here, and that may be some hindrances and some things that just aren't ideal right now for a little while until we can fix the situation we're in. I just thought that needed to be said. So.
No, and we have talked about other things, giving them more time outside, even yoga classes, things like that would help keep the inmates in a better state of mind. So, we've talked about those things. They just have to get the staff up first so they can do those things. I thought you said the last one. You got another one?
Yeah. Okay. I think they went above and beyond, and I appreciate that because it's my understanding there's still maybe some jails in the state that aren't having any type of in-person due to still following the COVID-19.
One of the first things that the jail inspector said to me on our first meeting, he said, "Are you going to keep in-person visitation?" And I said, "I hadn't thought about it." He said, "Very few jails around the state have it." And it's become the norm. It's the convenience level for the inmate's family is huge. You can sit on your couch and visit at your convenience. You don't have to make an appointment. You just do like you do FaceTime on your phone. And so I really have not heard any. I've heard people say when they call to schedule a visit, they say, "Oh, that stinks." And then we explain to them how to visit, and then they go right on. We really haven't had a complaint that I've seen.
Now, we also have had some conversations about when we get to a better place, if there's kids that want to see their parents. We've talked to the sheriff about maybe a Saturday, dedicating some time that people can go in there and be supervised, so there can be some interaction with their kids.
We did that over Christmas with the Wanda Joyce Robinson Foundation.
Exactly.
The inmates that had completed their part of the program were allowed to some in-person visits. That was all people that donated, the staff donated their time for that because that's what they want to see that. So.
Yeah. Ron, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Sheriff, thank you. All righty. Thank you, Court. Amy, I believe you're up next. This is exciting. I don't see a smile on your face, but it's exciting.
This is exciting. So this agenda item is to request the court to authorize a 3% pay increase for the employees that are listed in the abstract. So we've talked about the jail talked about the roads, so we want to see what we can do to take care of the rest of the employees. Just a little history, we did budget, and we did a $500 increase for full-time employees effective July 21st of '23. This increase is a mid-fiscal year increase, so it'll only impact 6 months of our budget. I do have the impact is $112,000, and this is in the budget. I'll probably have to do some budget transfers among the salaries, but the money is there to do this.
Squire Blackburn.
Amy, when you say the money's in the budget, but there'll be a transfer, where is the money at in the budget?
It's in the salary line items. So there are some salary line items that have excess. So I may need to move, maybe some money from the general fund to the fire fund, or maybe some movement in between some of those salary line items.
So it's in salary line items, it's
Yes.
just, it has to be moved around within
Yes.
those? Okay.
And I also want to remind the court that when we looked at budgetary things, we were at 1.5%, and because we've been fiscally responsible, we're at 3 now. But the bigger thing is that we have competed for years about when our budget is and when the fee office budgets are. So from this point on, we have decided that all raises or anything we can do for county employees will go to effect January 1. So there won't be, we've gone back and forth, it seems like, for years as far as, some get them in July, some people get them in January. So what we're trying to do here is get it to a good starting point. So all county employees, no matter if you're sheriff's department or county clerk's office, or if you're a county employee, anywhere else, it all starts, correct?
That's right.
Okay. Squire Tracy.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you. I know you've worked night and day on this stuff, so thank you for all your work. To circle back and touch on something you said, ultimately, this is for the county. We just approved the sheriff's budget at 1.5%. Has anyone talked to him?
We have.
Okay, so that's going to get taken care of with the additional 1.5? The sheriff's department will get that as well?
Yeah, I had a conversation with the deputy judge and the treasurer today. So we'll probably come back, and come up here. We'll probably come back in November like we always do. If there's other things, we'll just do it all at once. You're talking about 25 grand or so. So we'll just see where we're at then. But I'm not gonna come back next week and do it. Because it may be that we have vacancies too, so we may be okay, we'll see. But just remember me if we come back.
I remembered you now, Sheriff. I remembered you on the front end. And then my next question is, obviously with the committees that are in place, whether it be the emergency services or whoever, we also have to understand and realize that our fire department is barely hanging on with applicants. We're going to look up one day and it's going to be as bad as the jail. So we have to remember those guys, and we have to remember all the rest of them as well. So I'm not sure what committee or who wants to volunteer to work on that, but I will say good luck. And we just can't forget about the other ones.
And that is one of the things we had talked about internally, as far as we know there's other people in county government that we need to look at, but these 2 departments seem like they've been out there for a long, long time that we had to address first. So yes, I intend to probably run through emergency services first, and we'll start the conversation, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And let's not forget about the Parks Department. I mean,
Yeah, no,
there's several.
everybody. It's just gonna take time. It's a
I got you.
lofty thing.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for?
Yeah, Judge.
Okay, go ahead. Scott.
Just, Amy, if you would verify, we gave a $500 increase for full-time employees. This is for everyone, a 3% increase, even our part-time employees?
Yes.
Just wanted to, like stating these things out loud for those that are watching. We always know employees are watching and don't always have all the information right at their fingertips, right, when we're discussing these things. Judge, I appreciate the idea of trying to move things to January 1st, but I will say I think it's the prerogative of this entire body to review at any point in time that we want to, and make raises appropriate to the amount. I didn't vote for the budget last year primarily because it only gave a $500 increase, and I thought we needed to do a full 3% or more, and I'm thinking we're still behind. And as mentioned, fire specifically has been sort of left out of increases for some time, and I understand many of our employees are looking elsewhere because of that. So I'm wanting to address all those. I think I'll make a motion in a little while when we get into some other business, but I think it's imperative, because you all have mentioned time and time again that compensation study is outdated at this point. We need to revisit, whether that's re-engaging the Johansson Group to come back and work with us again to do a study of where we're at and what comparables we have. I think it is. We already have a working relationship with them. They based those numbers on pandemic level things, and everything's changed since that was done. So I think it's pertinent that we immediately take actions to reevaluate that compensation study, to review it in full time before our next budget season begins here. So I'd like to say if the judge could be directed to re-engage with the Johansson Group to do a full compensation study review for all offices and all employees of the county. I think that's pertinent to do at this point in time, because I feel like we're falling further and further behind. This is a great attempt. I'm glad that we're giving our employees something, but inflation is, 6 to 9% in the last year? 3% is not doing a lot, and I'm concerned about retaining our employees. Like I said earlier, we're nothing without them, so.
Judge, can I ask a question of the court that was here, the last body? Was the fire department, were they brought up to whatever the compensation report?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
I just want the court to know, everyone's working as hard as they can. This is a massive thing to uncover. Amy's doing everything she can. We don't have a money tree. We have a fixed budget that we try to keep balanced. I think we have a lot of economic development things going on. I know all of our taxes are coming in very good shape. So I think it's the intent of this whole body to do more and more as we can. But we also have to be fiscally responsible. So yes, to your point, Squire, we're not going to wait till next year to bring the other departments that we haven't been able to address yet. We will start addressing them throughout the year. We'll start working on them one at a time, and we'll go through it. No, yeah, but I'm just letting you know. So it's not like we're not going to take care of the rest of the county employees until next January. We will work on that throughout the year, starting, go ahead, Squire. Sure, Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. I just want to make those of you who are not on this body, in '22, the staff received a 10% raise here. I dare say many across the Commonwealth did that. And so this court, that court, prioritized employees above all else. And you go back, quite a few years, there were several years where multiple raises were given, 2017. So it is not something that anyone who has sat on this court has turned a blind eye to about the needs of staff. Not only their pay, but also ensuring they have the appropriate equipment and all the tools that they need to do their job. So I think it seems that this body has been mindful of that in regard to developing the budget. And at every turn, everyone is talking about ensuring that people have the appropriate tools to do their job, and we're asking questions about when are those tools available so that we can do the work we need to do. So I guess I'll applaud the body for continuing to look at all aspects of what it takes to do the work here. So I appreciate those comments.
Well, I appreciate the information, we just don't have it. So I have to ask it. When I come in here, I like to ask, because I don't know who.
I do the same thing.
I don't have the information that you have sitting in front of you. I should ask for it, I need to ask for it. I didn't know about the compensation study at all. So those are just questions that are, when I'm sitting here and I hear about it, I ask about them. So
they're great questions.
And Judge, many of my comments are directed because I know we have some internal conversations and some things at times that our employees aren't hearing, and they're watching our videos, right? to say that we're giving an increase at January 1 and we're going to start doing that annually, I want everyone to know that doesn't mean that's it. We're going to be looking at some things very strategically, I hope, in the near future, and I'm committed to anyway. I would like a new compensation study to be conducted to give us a full picture of where we're at in competition to other similar jobs in local government or otherwise all around us. Frankfurt's always that unique beast that we've got 4 forms of government that are competing here for the same employees, and we have to be more competitive than many communities because of it, and the accessibility for the Golden Triangle here. So, it's critical that we keep mindful of that.
Amy, again, I think somebody said it earlier, thank you for your work.
Well,
I know
it's
that it's been
been a lot of
cumbersome,
people.
and it has been a lot of people, and Deputy Kennedy, everybody has worked a lot, and we still have a lot of work to do, but we're definitely heading in the right direction.
I want to make a comment. I might be wrong, but the way the county gave $500 to all employees in July, is that correct?
Full-time, yes.
Full-time employee.
Yes.
So that would be 1% if you made $50,000 or less. It would be over 1% if you went down from that. So when people think we only got 3% raise, it's not correct. A lot of them got as much as 4 or more percent. And some of them that went over 50,000 obviously don't get that, but it doesn't compute out the same. So I think people need to think it's not 3, it's actually for this budget cycle, it's 4 in a lot of cases.
Valid point. Thank you, Squire. All righty. Thank you, Amy, and we're going to move on to the treasurer's report.
You have your revenue and expense report as of January 5th.
Any questions for our treasurer on? Any questions? All righty, seeing none, Amy, thank you. All righty, payment of claims. Does anybody have any questions for Kim on payment of claims? And I do want to remind everybody, when I'm going back to that road department item, that we are going to have money on bills in the next month or two for the rock, for that change order, so that will be on here, but Duke knows to let Amy know, so that won't come out of our general fund, it will come out of our bond money, but just let everybody know that will be on future billings from the quarry. Any questions?
Yeah. Judge.
Oh, go ahead.
One just question for informational purpose. I'm wondering if Parks or if staff could get us the payoff amount for the Keiko Leasing Trust, the mower that we bought, to consider in the new year. And specifically, on the page 2, the jail funds, the safety restraint chairs, I believe that was grant funded, if I'm correct. If someone could.
Yes, it is.
And that is a reimbursement after payment, is that what I remember?
Yes.
Okay.
Squire Tanner.
I'm like information, probably more than anything else. The bond payments of $4,162 is a supplemental bill that we have.
Yes.
Is that for whose bond is included in that payment?
It is all the county employees, including the county clerk's office.
Including the county clerk's office, I don't know who all has to be bonded in, everybody handles money, I guess.
Yes.
Is Liberty Mutual, that's who the company is that affiliated with Kentucky Association of Counties, or does anybody check with them to see if they're cheaper? I think that's a pass for them too. Really.
We do bond through Assured Partners, and our bonds go through State Farm. However, they got bought out by Liberty Mutual. So now we pay Liberty Mutual for the public official bonds.
So I think, Squire, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is there an opportunity to shop for other companies that might have better rates in the future?
I believe so.
Okay, so if that's something maybe you can make note of, and when we get to that point again, then we'll put it out.
Okay.
Is that okay? Is that?
Oh, that's fine. I actually think they farm it out at Keiko also. I don't think they have their own self-insurance fund for bonds.
Okay.
But anyway, it's always nice to ask.
Yep, no, absolutely, thank you.
Judge, one other.
Go ahead.
General fund, page 2, engineering services. I'm wondering what the engineering services through 12/15/2023 in the amount of $2,380 to Otis Engineering was for specifically.
Robert, can you answer that, please?
I do receive an itemized invoice from Otis Engineering. If I recall, generally, that has a lot to do with development plan and residential development, civil plan reviews, namely the role of the county engineers to look at stormwater management, run the stormwater calculations to verify that the design engineer did it correctly. It also includes correspondence with the developer's engineer and things of that nature. So I believe there were probably 12 or so projects associated with that invoice. The county engineer is part of the technical review team, so critical element.
Okay, that can be available to us to look at.
Yes, sir. They're itemized every time an invoice. It's itemized by project, time spent, and rate.
I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Any other questions for the clerk? I was going to take a break, but we're so close, so I think we'll just power through if that's okay with everybody. We'll just wait for Squire Sebastian to come back in.
Judge, we don't have new business on our agenda. I'd like to move to add new business. Or other business.
Other business.
Can we add it next?
It's a regular meeting.
Yeah. Okay. All right, do I have a second for other business?
I'll make a second for that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We'll add other business into the agenda, which I think it was left off by accident. Okay, does anyone have any other business? If you don't have anything, I was gonna say, that's pretty funny.
No, no.
I didn't have anything. You're just messing with us
In
now.
conversation, and I'll make sure we weren't out of order, Squire Wisman talked about having a labor study, salary study again, to have it prepared by the time we rebudget, a budget for the next 24, 25. And I didn't know that if we needed a motion to ask you to put that on the agenda for us to discuss next meeting or not. We might not could have done it without a motion.
I would like to maybe run that through a committee. It wasn't the smoothest last time, so I'm personally not looking to jump in with what we did before. I'm just gonna be honest. So I think if we could take that to maybe one of our committees to discuss and go from there.
Well, Judge, with all due respect, we're the full body here at the moment. I have never really been able to see the nuts and bolts of that study that was done before. I mean, other than the printed version of it, that the previous court didn't. They moved to accept it, right, and took some elements out of it, but didn't
We just
implement it.
We received it.
Received it, but didn't implement, but you did do some raises, it sounds like, out of it. I just think it's critical that we move forward with some analysis, and it would seem to be the most logical to have that group back because they've done the previous work to pick up from there.
I'm going to say this in a nice way. I think it wasn't accepted for a reason. That's why it was only received.
Well, I suppose my request is just to ask you to engage with someone and see what that looks like and bring that back to the body. If it's that group or otherwise, so we can see where we should be. I think, like you all have said, I think it's been said twice tonight by members, everything changed 3 years ago and it's consistently changing. And like I said, we're competing, with 3 other agencies and regionally.
Absolutely.
I just want to see where we should be, and I'm not sure what that is. We can compare to other agencies directly, but that still doesn't mean that there's something we're not missing that's, external.
Squire Blackburn?
I know with the Kentucky Association of Counties, they had 80 different counties put in their pay structures. And that's open for all of us to look at, which is a good resource. And that's also something I think that the consultants had looked at. But, and like you said, there's some things that are very similar, and there's some things like as far as job descriptions that a sergeant here and a sergeant here might have two totally different jobs, and the pay is not commensurate. So there are some things that doesn't point out, but it is a great resource and something that we've looked at, and I know you studied it hard. So that's something you might peek into. I know you do a lot of digging, and that's a good one to look at.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. And I missed part of this conversation, but Squire Wisman, to prepare for the most recent Finance Committee meeting where jail salaries were discussed, I went on the KCO website and pulled down information from the area development district, which we are a part of, so we would have at least some comparable things there. I pulled down each classification under the jails. Squire Blackburn has mentioned there were more than 80 counties that participated in that. Franklin was one of those. So things are broken down by classification of area development district, population. There are multiple ways to get at a variety of information. So the prior court was told numerous times that when we looked at giving raises, they wanted the KCO salary study, and my brethren from the last court, you can speak up at any point here. They wanted to wait until that document was finished. And when that document was finished, there was the mood of people who may not have agreed with what was in that. I don't know a better way to put that. And so at that point, then I think an RFP went out, or maybe an RFP did not go out, but RFP did not go out.
They used,
The company that...
because the city
Because
was
the
using
city,
them at the time.
yeah, the city was using them at the time, that's why. And you may be familiar with them from, at that point. And so that's when this Johansson group came in, and there was some discussion about their rate and about what they were going to do and how long it was going to take to do that. And then that's when we opted to receive it because there were a number of questions from the body. So I'm just trying to, as you've mentioned, sometimes history is important, so just trying to share that part of it, so, thank you.
Squire Tanner.
This subject you gonna talk about, or I wanna change the subject? I'm gonna change the
I was
subject.
gonna talk about
Well,
this.
let him finish talking, then we'll change it.
I think it's important, and Squire Wisman referenced nuts and bolts. If I can recall, I think all we received was what the percentage was in the difference of pay.
Yes, sir.
We didn't receive how they got there. We just received, this department is this low, this department is this low, this department is this low. So how they got there, you know as much as I do on it.
And that was the challenge, and that was the rationale for the receiving over other words that could have been used by the body to take that in.
But I think you make a good point, and we need to look at it again.
Well, I've heard it out of the mouths of all four of you who were on the previous court that study wasn't current and we couldn't rely on it. So I think it's high time we redid it. And I don't, the KCO website doesn't address state and federal pay, which we have in this community, unique to here. Private industry, what's happening with them is changing day by day right now, right? So I just think it's critical we kind of go there, because I see a transition period nationally, but in this community as well, where we're getting a lot of people retiring out, just the age of our road department, for instance, the terms of length of employment with us, we mentioned earlier, and we're actively all trying to recruit those same few people at the moment, so I think it's critical we look at that. So if you could engage and bring us back something, I think that'd be best.
Squire Tanner.
I want to change the subject to...
All righty, we're gonna change it. Let's go.
Okay, we employed a lobbyist.
Yep.
We're in the 9th or 10th day of the session. I don't know that we need to have some input or ask him in, or have some direction on what's going on. What have we asked him for? Is it, and I'm pretty sure you're probably dealing with him directly, but we aren't.
Okay.
And
Do y'all want me to have him come in for a meeting?
Well, a couple of things. I think if anybody here has, I know he can't lobby for 10,000 things, then be lucky to lobby for one or two, and mostly you play defense more than you do offense anyway over there, because I've been there and I know how you do it. I know how it ends up. But anyway, a report would be nice, and if we have some specific interest that we're trying to secure, like more money for parks or something, those line item, but that's gonna be budgetary, or probably not in the statute, but to be in a budget document, if that, is that where we're going? Anyway, just find out what's going on and where we are, and if we have some ideas that we might wanna throw out on the
I'm
table.
happy to tell you right now, I mean, he and I talk almost every day. I mean, he calls
Okay,
me
that's
8
great.
o'clock in the morning.
That's great, but
Currently, what he's doing is working it, you know better than any of us. He's trying to keep the money in there that the governor put in for our indoor facility. That's a $10 million thing. There's also a bunch of sewer money in there for Farmdale, for a couple other projects. There's some water money in there. Those are the main things that he's kind of working up there on. He's also been helping navigate a little bit on the P3 things that we can talk about at a later time. But he's been very active, and I think I made a comment to somebody today, how tentative he's been on the ball, so I'm
well, I'm
so
certainly not questioning that at all.
No, yeah, and so, we can do a better job of communicating, and I need to do that as far as what he's working on and things like that.
Judge, just if I can, related to that, we're a year into our term in this court. I'd like us ideally next week to get together and set a goals and priorities meeting for this body, right? That I imagine would then feed into our lobbyist, what he's actively working for. And my experience, those lobbyists are most successful when they've got their entire body behind them, making the phone calls, working the doors and the phones and the emails as well. So we need to get everyone on the same page, I believe. And I assumed that we would have a few things, but at the moment, those are your priorities as judge, right? Not the active priorities of the body, at least not formally yet. So if we could call a meeting and maybe all come in with what our priorities are for our district, we've yet to be able to have that input. And overall, I'd like to be able to do that.
Well, I wouldn't say that those are just my priorities. I don't know if that's accurate.
Well,
because
you've directed
Farmdale alone,
them.
it's a $20 million project that's been going on for 20 years. So we're finally to the end, and we're about $5 million short. So, basically what I've done is try to kind of look at the whole county as far as who needs what. And, but yes, we can have that conversation. All good. All right, any other business?
Yeah, a couple things, if I can. Judge, just last week you released with our business meeting schedule, also our holidays. And I thought it pertinent to mention that there are 2 holidays that are federally recognized that this body doesn't recognize as holidays, President's Day and Juneteenth. They're both now federal national holidays that I would like to direct an ordinance to be created, to be brought back to recognize both of those as holidays for our employees in the future, now that they're both federal holidays.
But they're not state, because we follow the state?
I understand that.
Okay.
It's still our prerogative to make our own holiday schedule, right, and both of those are, again, federal holidays at this point. We do have federal government in this town, so I think it'd be better to have cohesion. I believe the city has recognized both of those as holidays, and again, we're talking about competitive abilities. There are other elements beyond pay that can make us more competitive, right?
Okay. What else do you have?
And the last thing, Judge, I appreciate that you gave an update of some of the committees that have met. I would like to add formally committee updates at the beginning of every agenda, and ask whoever is the chair of those or representative, whoever it may be, to bring us back reports. We've had that discussion time and time again in the last year. The public has a right to know, and I'd like to remind us that everything we do is the public's business, and they have absolutely, within reason, right to know everything that we're doing and acting upon. So I'd like to try to make some steps in this new year to being even more forthcoming with information for ourselves and the public. So
in addition to what we put on the website after the committee meetings?
Just your judge's report and all of our meetings, following the judge's report, I'd like to add an item for every regular agenda to have committee reports from now on. If you can. You kind of already started it tonight, so I appreciate that.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Just want to report to the body that I am the court's representative to the ROSM board, and the ROSM board met today. And so there was a discussion about the number of individuals that were assisted through financial services of ROSM, and that could be for utilities, housing, a variety of other things. So including adults and children, there were almost 400 people served since July of this year for those services. So the county puts money into that board, churches put money into that board, the city is putting money into that board. So I just want everyone to understand your money is going to a very good purpose to assist your neighbors in your community. Thank you very much.
Squire, thank you for serving on that committee, representing us, and thank you for the update.
Ms. Sebastian, could you, to my understanding, ROSM also helps direct sometimes, like with our plant board, you can give a winter care donation, right? And sometimes they're able to use some external things. It's good to mention what the plant board does in our community all the time, right?
Absolutely. It is. That was not a topic that was discussed as a line item about number of individuals assisted. And that could go to some of the things that Mr. Bragg discussed with us about the funding that his business received to put food boxes out there. So there are a variety of, and I would call it almost a web of services that are available within the community, and groups are linking into those to stretch the fabric of that web as far as it possibly could be stretched to assist our neighbors. So I'm applauding every group that is participating in that web of services and how people and groups are reaching out to link those together to assist our neighbors. I mean, it's a fantastic thing to see and hear. I sit on the Senior Citizens Board, and last night we discussed that, the food boxes, about how they're coming into play to assist the Senior Citizen Center, because it is stretched so much there. You know, commodity food box, I'll be putting those together on Thursday, and we're over 100 of those every month to give out. There's Free Food Friday there, where people come up and basically food that is taken in, individuals can basically shop for no cost whatsoever. All they have to produce is a Franklin County driver's license to assure that they are here and be above the age of 18. And it is very humbling on a Friday morning at 9 o'clock to see the number of people that line up around the parking lot that need that food. Thank you very much.
I appreciate, Squire Sebastian, you have your pulse on that more than some of the others of us on this court, and I'm reminded that earlier last year, we had a presentation from a few bodies that discussed inflation and how it's impacting the elderly particularly, who are sometimes going hungry in our community. And I will just say, if there's anything that this court can do, I said during the pandemic, we were not going to let anybody starve in this county, right? So if there's a need that arises, I hope that any of the agencies that are providing relief, if there is a exacerbated demand, then we can meet as a community. This court will support it. Or at least I'll say for myself.
Yeah.
Since we're going into the hard part of winter here.
All right, any other business? All righty. Let's roll on to voting session. We're now entering into our January 9th, 2023 voting session. Clerk, please call roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Here.
Squire Blackburn.
Present.
Squire Dykus.
Here.
Squire Tracy.
Present.
Squire Tanner.
Present.
Squire Wisman.
Present.
Judge Moeller.
Present. Thank you, Clerk. Authorization for approval of minutes from special meeting of December 14, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization for approval of minutes from special meeting of December 21, 2023.
So moved.
As amended, second.
As amended, yes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive the county clerk's quarterly report ending December 31, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. This is the second reading and approval of an ordinance of the Franklin County, Kentucky Fiscal Court, the Fiscal Court approving a First Amendment to the local development area, related to the local development area created for economic development purposes within the city of Frankfort, Kentucky, known as the Paddocks of Frankfort Local Development Area, the local development area
created by the City of Frankfort, the city, by ordinance number 7-2022, the local development area ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Present.
Motion. Did you get that?
Yes.
Judge, may I just make
Yep.
one statement? This court looked at that thoroughly and made some recommendation that brought the county and will bring the county to the table at these decisions are made for our community, because we are a community of 53,000, not 26,000. So it's very critical that everyone understands that the county will have a seat at this table, even though this ordinance here continues to only speak about one portion of our community. So please be advised that this court was adamant in ensuring that every voice is heard.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe the attorney that was representing this whole thing made us sure that we would be part of it. So thank you for that. This is the first reading of an ordinance amending ordinance number 8-2023 relating to the reapportionment of magisterial districts. The vote will be taken at the next meeting. Authorization to approve a resolution authorizing the filing of an application to Kentucky Board of Emergency Medical Services Ambulance Block Grant Program.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve the change order number 1 to Colston Paving, Inc. regarding the relocation of the salt barn for the road department project.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve the change order number 1 to Rise and Sun Development, Inc. regarding the relocation of the salt barn for the road department project.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve the change order number 1 to Walker Mechanical regarding the relocation of the salt barn for the road department project.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Clerk, did you get that?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Judge?
Yep.
That, I just want to make sure I understood. So the first one was Colston Paving, the second one was the salt barn,
Was Rising Sun, and then the last one was Walker Mechanical.
Walker, okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're
Just trying
fine.
to make sure I keep it all straight, it's not spelled out.
Yep. Okay, next agenda item, authorization to approve the change order number 1 to Codell Construction regarding the relocation of the salt barn for the road department project.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve the salary adjustments for the employees in the road department.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve the salary adjustment for the employees in the jail department.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve the salary increase for employees under the direct supervision of the county judge executive and in the following departments: county judge's staff, county attorney, coroner's office, human resources, planning and zoning, maintenance, IT, dog warden, treasurer, occupational tax, friend of the court, crimes, victims advocate, community development, solid waste, park, golf, fire.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Payment of claims. Is there a motion to deny any payment of claims? No motion was made. Let the record reflect claims are to be paid. Authorization to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, court. Great meeting.